A conservative feminist group that has been throwing their weight around in recent months has once again took their head out in order for credit card companies to pressure Valve to remove certain games from their platforms and to update their TRS in order to address the situation. The conservative feminist group Collective Shout, who you may remember were the people responsible for getting No Mercy pulled from Steam store shelves, has now been accused of being the ones responsible for credit card companies like MasterCard and Visa to pressure Valve and Steam in order to change their policies, with a latest rule according to Eurogamer as violating the rules and standards set by credit card companies, internet network providers, and more. As Eurogamer reporter Matt Wales is pointing out in an update to an article which states what Valve had in essence changed, they said, quote, "We were recently notified that certain games on Steam may violate the rules and standards set forth by our payment processors and their related card networks and banks. As a result, we are retiring those games from being sold on the Steam store because loss of payment methods would prevent customers from being able to purchase other titles and game content on Steam." The article goes on to say that the company added it was directly notifying developers if any of their titles are impacted by the new rules and will be issuing app credits in case they have other games they'd like to distribute on Steam in the future. However, as many on X had pointed out, it was the group Collective Shout that had raised the ire of major credit card providers. On the website Collective Shout, you can see that they have a open letter to payment processors profiting from the things you read on the screen, and yes, we will post the link down below. And when this new policy was implemented, Collective Shout bragged about the win, saying, quote, "Following our successful campaign and 70K petition to get rape simulation games No Mercy pulled from gaming platforms, Steam, we discovered almost 500 other games depicting the things you see on the screen. We encourage our supporters to email payment processors to call them to stop facilitating payment and profiting from these games on Steam," and 1,067 did. This week we released an open letter signed by leading global anti-sexploitation organizations and individuals to senior executives at payment gateway companies including MasterCard, Visa, and PayPal. Within just a few days, we've seen significant action. As a result of our campaign, Steam has introduced a new rule to their policies and removed hundreds of rape and incest games. Not saying that Steam was pushed by credit card companies in order to do this, giving the impression that Steam had done this on their own accord. However, this latest round of censorship and the people seemingly responsible has garnered both Steam and Collective Shout some maybe unwanted attention, with some who had first not mentioned anything about Collective Shout during the No Mercy situation has now taken notice here, with Chibi Reviews saying, quote, "A feminist group called Collective Shout has admitted to being responsible for the censorship with payment processors for Steam and potentially other areas. They have been gleefully jumping for joy the last 24 hours on getting games censored." Savvy, who has since put up a video explaining the history of Collective Shout, which we will also link to you in the description below the video, has says, quote, well, Collective Shout has labeled me a man because they couldn't imagine a woman actually defying them. Collective Shout has labeled me a man because I am a quote-unquote sex trader, and Collective Shout won't answer my question because they assume I am a man. Naturally, they also blocked me. I am so tired of feminist groups getting to push companies around, weaponizing language and law, and focusing on fiction instead of promoting the family unit and changing the culture of how parents use the internet. They are back on the grind of video game bad, but instead of violence is now sex. They write a whole lot of drivel to say we can't separate fiction and reality, but we all know they don't actually care about that. Not a peep about payment processors servicing Hollywood full of rape and misogyny. Not a peep about them servicing Diddy's website. They really think 1,000 emails demands them an audience and to be taken seriously. But when thousands more push back against them, they want to brush it off, F off. And to further the idea that maybe Collective Shout has too much power for their own good, Anna Valens, who you may remember as the person who wrote the hit pieces on Purge, which Vice left up despite the pushback that Alla Violent had gotten about said hit pieces, posted a article on Vice concerning Collective Shout has since seen her article pulled, saying, quote, Vice's owner Savage Ventures has requested the removal of my Collective Shout articles. This is due to concerns about the controversial subject matter, not journalistic complaints. Effective immediately, I will no longer contribute to Waypoint. If this upsets you, I recommend contacting Savage Ventures directly with your complaints. And that particular action has caused a few other people who posted to, believe it or not, their Blue Sky account also saying they were leaving Waypoint as a direct result of what happened to that article. And Mark Kearns said on his Grumps account, Collective Shout has been attacking games for many years. They are a small group that found recent success by pressuring payment processors. There are many groups like this. Until payment processors play fair or alternatives arise, this will continue to be a problem exploited by activists, quoting a Varadark video concerning this situation. Now, there are many others that have came out and said stuff about this, but I wanted to highlight a few of them, and I did pick and choose who I wanted to show because of what I said about Collective Shout. They are a conservative group. They are a conservative bunch. They are ones that you could see as being in line with people like the American Family Association or Focus on the Family or people like that. Although they try to say that they are not, they definitely are. And like I said, I had posted a video about this. I'll go link that to you as well. There are a lot of tweets about this. Savvy has definitely went on the offensive about this. You can go watch her video. It highlights even better than I did in my initial video. But there's a reason why I wanted to kind of cherry pick, and yes, I'm going to admit I cherry picked a little bit, but there's a reason behind it in that these people, with the exception of Olivalan, who is featured because it's showing the amount of bipartisanship that we're seeing on this particular subject, but her being the exception of the people that I had highlighted, are those that some people on X have considered to be conservative viewpoints. Conservative people like Grums, somebody who gets attacked daily and maybe rightfully so at times. People like Chibi Reviews, who does get attacked for what I don't know. I don't know why he gets attacked regularly to the point where some people who attack him should get a sanity hearing. But the reason I did that is because this is a bipartisan situation which a lot of people do not like this organization. And it's an organization that should not have the power that they do. Now, first of all, let's get to the payment processors, the Visa, MasterCard, and the Steam, in that you don't have to agree with the idea of these types of games being on the platform or any platform. However, at the same time, you should have a pro-consumer stance. You should champion people's right to buy what they want to buy. It's their money. They worked hard for it. They are allowed to spend it on what they want to spend it on. As long as it doesn't infringe on your own rights, then you should not have a problem with somebody buying an adults-only game. That's their right. That's their prerogative. And as long as they're not hurting anybody else's enjoyment or acting out what they see on screen in real life, then what's the problem here? Like I said, I did not condone anything that the actions of the characters involved in the game No Mercy had depicted, but at the same time, somebody might want to buy it and play it, and as long as it doesn't infringe on my rights, it doesn't infringe on my ability to not play it, then you spend your money where you want. And it shouldn't be the choices of these major credit card companies to tell you what you can and can't do with your money. And if they're going to do that, then we're going to go elsewhere. Bitcoin has become a good workaround. Now, you can say what you want about cryptocurrency, but the bottom line is, if that's the way that people are going to have to go in order to make sure they are able to spend their money the way they want to, then that's where they're going to go. Period, dot, end of story. And Steam does not have the right to do that to anybody, and certainly not the credit card companies. They don't have the right to tell Steam what to do. Steam could tell them to get bent, but they didn't do that because look how much power they hold. If you don't have the support of MasterCard, Visa, and those other places, there's not a whole lot of places you can go. Those are the two companies, or maybe three if you count PayPal, that hold all the cards. Visa and MasterCard are the two biggest distributors of debit cards as well, that they give to like JP Morgan Chase and some of these other bigger banks that link to them in order to provide people's debit cards in order to access their bank accounts. You don't see American Express or Discover doing anything like that. So yeah, those are the only two companies that banks do business with in order to provide the debit cards. If you don't have Visa or MasterCard, you don't have debit cards. You can't get access to ATMs or anything like that. So how are you going to get to your bank account? So yeah, if Visa or MasterCard say, hey, we're not going to support you, what are they expecting Steam to do? So yeah, they hold too much power as that is. And even with the Bitcoin workaround, you have to convince so many people in order to go along with you. And not only are there going to be people who don't agree with you and say, yeah, this was a good move for them to remove this content, not understanding the nuance behind it, but you also have to convince people who say, oh, there's no big deal, it doesn't affect me, so why should I care? But then you get into a slippery slope. Today, it might be the titillation game or whatever, the adults only game. Tomorrow, it might be GTA, which Collective Sout has targeted in the past. So yeah, it is a slippery slope. It may go to M-rated games, teen-rated games, and you saw how far they will go in order to get what they want. And this smug attitude that they've had, and the idea that the person behind Collective Sout, Menard Tankard Rice, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, seems to be smug, doesn't want to debate on any sort of data to back up her claims, goes on emotional responses and talking over top of people and filibustering everybody to the point where you saw what they did to Savvy and using terms they know nothing about, like brain rot. I'm not sure if they know what brain rot even is, which brings me to the other thing, which is how does Collective Sout have this kind of power to push and pressure these credit card companies to do what they want them to do? Especially when before the No Mercy thing came about, we hardly heard a word about them. We didn't even know they existed until this started about a few months ago with No Mercy, and now it's coming to this. Now it's coming to, oh well, credit card companies are bending the knee to what is basically a religious right organization that's trying to say that they're not a religious right organization. And I thought the religious right had lost a lot of their power in recent years. You hardly hear about the AFA anymore. You don't hardly hear about Focus on the Family anymore. So what is going on that is causing people to bend the knee for this particular group? When before we were seeing them so far under the radar, no one even knew they existed, which makes me very suspicious about what exactly could be going on here. They said they got 70,000 signatures on their petition. Why do I sense something fishy going on here? Are all of those signatures legitimate, or are they double signatures, triple signatures, quadruple signatures, or from dupe accounts or sock puppet accounts? I'm sorry, but for a group that up until this year we didn't even know even existed and had to go searching to find out what exactly they were all about and the stuff they have been accused of and have no doubt been smug about admitting, for a company to suddenly have that much power, why do I got a feeling they got somebody on the inside that is working as a shareholder for these companies, that's working as a couple shareholders for Visa, MasterCard, that can go about and pressure Steam because they're showing that there are more people that are in favor of this than what there actually is. And with how manipulative this company seems to be and willing to get into the mud with people who dare to disagree with them and even in the slightest bit, I am suspicious as to whether or not they have maybe somebody who's in the board meetings with them and are not disclosing that they are, or that Collective Sout has somebody on the inside that is pulling the strings, so to speak. That's a second thing I'm concerned about, and maybe we need some investigation now into how valid these signatures were. I have to think there's got to be some way for the government to step in and to investigate this and to make sure these things were all valid. But here's the last thing I want to get to, which is this is, as I said, a conservative feminist group. Keyword conservative. There have been a lot of center-left and left-wing people who have been concerned about so-called grifters. They accuse people like Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, as Clownfish TV. I'm not sure how Clownfish is in that same group, but some people do believe they are. Whenever Critical Drinker makes a video about anything, you see some people jumping at the bit to try to discredit him in the latest video and how he's this right-wing grifter and all this other stuff. But look at Collective Sout. These people are the exact textbook definition of what is an actual grifter. They decided they were going to attach themselves onto something that has a lot of popularity, a trend, And they have decided that because they can get their name out there if they go up against it, that yes, they're going to go after this. And they haven't gotten this much publicity in a long time, if ever. But when it comes to Collective Shout, these people who have seemingly decided they were going to go after Critical Drinker whenever he posts his video, Neurotic whenever he posts his video, some of these other people, whoever they post a video, all of a sudden, radio silence. When it comes to Collective Shout, you see what happened with Vice. They will call out right-wing fringe positions all the time. Fringe, right-wing people all the time. Whether or not you agree that they are or not. But when it came to Collective Shout, all of a sudden they bend the knee. This may be because Collective Shout has way too much power. In what way, we don't know. But here's the thing. These very same people who pounds us at the bit whenever Critical Drinker so much as breathes, they could make a big difference here. They could call out Collective Shout. They could go on and do the same thing that Savvy did and expose these people for who they really are. But yet, we needed her to do that. And kudos for her for doing that. They called her every name in the book and it did not faze her. And I've seen what these right-wing religious groups have done for years with the 1 million moms and 1 million dads and sites like that. Why isn't Pillars of Garbage doing a video on Collective Shout? We want to whine all the time that Neurotic didn't do a review of Sinners, or that Critical Drinker did a review of Sinners on his secondary channel, which I don't know why you guys care where he put it. You're going to complain about it no matter what he did. But suddenly, when it comes to Collective Shout, with the way that anti-grifting commentary videos have been the rage anymore, where is the video on Collective Shout, Pillars of Garbage? We gotta ask the same questions to all of you guys. Where's the videos? Where's the articles? Are you guys that scared to talk about Collective Shout that you are not going to post a video? Are you going to even make a tweet about it? If you are going to go after people like Critical Drinker, you gotta go after these people too. Why is this the line you won't cross? I mean, it would have an actual impact because you're talking about a rise against power, but maybe in order to do that, you have to admit that maybe some of those people you were calling out were right on some things. They are too proud to give people they consider their enemies the victory on even one thing when it might be in the best interest of consumer freedom and being pro-consumer to give them that victory and to say, hey, they were correct on this one thing or maybe a couple of things. Grums might have been correct here. You don't want to give anybody a victory, but maybe in order for you to have some credibility, you have to say that, yeah, they were right on a few things and this was one of them. And maybe they're not as right-wing as you thought they were, because they're going after a right-wing conservative fringe organization that does not go on data, just goes on emotion. And the people who you say up and down are right-wing grifters suddenly surprised you. Maybe swallow your pride on this one thing, because we might need you on this one. We might need you here. If they see that the gaming landscape is united in a bipartisan effort against groups like Collective Shout, and I'm pretty sure there has to be a few other groups that are agreeing with them on a few things. And yeah, there are a few people who are agreeing with Collective Shout on this, and I'm not sure how they could. It has nothing to do with whether or not you are influenced by a adults only game, but rather a pro-consumer stance to allow people the ability to spend their money how they want to spend it, as long as it's not infringing on your own rights. Why do you care if someone across the country buys one of these games? How does that affect you? But if they see that there's a united effort against this sort of thing happening, then stuff will get done. And I do believe it would get done. But you have to show that partisan politics can be put aside for a few things. I don't know if we have the ability to do that right now. We are so polarized that some people would rather whine about the latest Critical Drinker video than to actually show solidarity against a group that is hell-bent on destroying the rights of the consumer. And yeah, the late great GOAT Total Biscuit would be rolling over in his grave if he saw what was going on here. Boy, do we ever need a voice like his around right now, seeing what's going on here. And yeah, we're going to continue following this story. Please leave a comments down below. I would love to hear them. Until next time, please stay safe and please be pro-consumer and please watch out for mental health. Until next time, to be continued.